Grand Rising, loved ones. Welcome back to another episode of Healing Wisdom with me, your favorite spiritual advisor, Empress Oracle. I hope you all are doing well today. Before I go into our topic of discussion, I'm just going to go ahead and start with the spiritual copyright disclaimer. On behalf of Starseed Galactic Federation, I have been given access to this knowledgeable information from my Akashic records for the purpose of helping humanity. This information is given directly to me as a divine channel, and any use or reproduction of this information without proper accreditation or acknowledgement from which this information was received will result in instant karma for the plagiarizing parties or individual. And so it is. Now, I didn't even write any notes because this is a topic that I feel as though I have enough experience dealing with this topic, not just from other people playing the victim, but I've been guilty of having a victim mentality before as well. And that's the topic today. We're going to talk about having a victim mentality, because whether we care to admit it or not, as humans, we tend to go through different phases of acknowledgement and acceptance of the things that occur to us in our life, whether they are self-induced or whether it's because of environmental factors or whether it's just circumstances beyond our control. A lot of times, as humans, our first reaction is to take a victim mentality. And as I said in the beginning of this, I have been guilty of having a victim mentality as well. When I was younger and things would happen to me that did not go along with my plan or were not in my favor, I used to always be like, why me? Lord have mercy, Jesus, why me? Crying and shit, and then it got to a point where I just got tired of always being the victim. At some point in time in life, you have to get tired of being the victim. You should never let your role in life be the victim. And a lot of people, because of the challenges that life brings their way, and even sometimes some of the tests that are put in their path in order to help their soul evolve, instead of looking at it as a lesson and a blessing and saying, okay, what can I take from this experience and learn? They automatically choose to play the victim or to have that victim mentality because it's easier to not hold yourself accountable. A lot of times we have a problem with looking at ourselves from an unobjective point of view, stepping outside of ourselves and looking at the situation and saying, okay, well, I understand this and this happened, unfair circumstances, but what could I have done differently? What did I learn from this? How can I grow from this? A lot of times people have a hard time doing that. And it took for me to have to step outside of myself once I realized that every time something bad happened, I was always blaming outside resources. And at some point in time, the shit hit me like, okay, the only one common denominator in every fuck up that I have is me. So what am I doing wrong? I need to learn from this so that I can grow. And I actually got rid of my victim mentality at a very young age, surprisingly. But that is because so much fuck shit happened to me early on in life that, I just couldn't stay the victim. That's like staying down. That's like you have your championship boxing match and you get one haymaker and yeah, that shit caused you to stumble. You might even fall on your ass. But this is for the championship belt, $100,000 prize. Are you really just gonna lay there and be like, man, he hit me. I didn't even see him coming. I thought he was supposed to square first. Or are you gonna get the fuck up and keep on fighting? Okay? And I just had to realize that. I said, I'm tired of being the victim. That's not my lot in life. That's not the role that I want to play in life. I don't want to be known as a victim, especially when so many life lessons happen to me. If you guys have watched in my previous videos, I've been sexually assaulted 7 times. Okay? At some point in time, I was like, I don't want to live life as a victim because that stigma, once you label yourself as a victim and once you become one with your victim mentality and you start owning that label, it gets to the point where you don't even have to tell people that you have a victim mentality. Because as soon as you open your mouth, everything that you're going to say is going to sound like a victim. Everything is always going to be everybody else's fault. And sometimes we just have to learn. Sometimes we just have to understand. Sometimes it's our fucking fault. It's your fault. It is your fault. And then from there, you just accept the flaws, you accept the errors of your ways, because shit happens. No matter how many times or how hard you try to plan things out, everything goes according to God's plan. Spirit, source, the divine, the divine's plan. That is really and truly how everything goes. So we have to understand, we have to remove that pride, because a lot of times pride is what makes us turn our heads and end up in denial and take that victim mentality, because we don't want to admit the fact that we were wrong, or we don't want to admit the fact that we walked into a trap. We don't want to admit the fact that we set our own selves up for failure. But that is how you learn. People, you first of all, you have to learn how to swallow your pride in order to get rid of a victim mentality. All right? Because people with victim mentalities, they suffer from severe pride-odosis. I just made that up. But you know what the fuck I'm talking about. You heard that though. It's official, right? Thank you. Yes, they suffer from severe pride-odosis. And until you learn to release that pride and humble yourself enough to always learn from your mistakes, until you're knowing that in life, you will always be a student. Yes, you can be a teacher, but you will always be a student, because that's how you learn. Hold yourself accountable, get rid of that victim mentality, and say, okay, you know what? This may not have gone the way that I wanted it to, but I learned something from it. Therefore, I'm better because of it. And I'm not a victim, because I'm still alive. I still have a sound mind, sound body for the most part, because, you know, everybody's a little thrown. But for the most part, I'm still healthy, sound mind, sound body. I'm still alive, living another day. Therefore, I am not a victim. I am a survivor, and I will get through this. That's what we have to learn how to tell ourselves. And once you tell yourself that, and once you start believing that, and you start moving in a survivor mentality instead of a victim mentality, you will not even be a survivor much longer. Pretty soon, you will just be a conqueror. You will excel at everything that you choose to do, because you will not be a victim. You will refuse for people to treat you like a victim, because, you know, some people get off on playing the victim and maintaining the victim mentality for sympathy points. But what they don't realize is, after a while, once people know that you are the consummate victim, always the victim, after a while, people start looking at you funny. They start realizing, even if you don't want to look at it and realize that maybe you may have something to do with it, people will start realizing they're not going to want to be around you anymore. They're going to be like, this person never knows how to hold themselves accountable. Anytime anything happens, they're always blaming everybody else, even though they're the one that did it. They're like, this person is always crying, complaining, talking about, woe is me. They're always a victim. And you end up isolating yourself. Right? Unless you find a whole group of other victims. But then once you find a whole group of other victims to be with, it becomes a blame game. We have to learn as adults, as progressive individuals, how to hold ourselves accountable for our actions instead of choosing the victim mentality. Hold yourself accountable for your actions, the things that you do, even the negative things that happen when that's not what you plan. Still, hold yourself accountable for it. Accept it. Accept the flaws and just start over. Just start over. Just continue. Because although it's better to take one step back than 3 steps back. You see what I'm saying? Once you accept your flaws, once that incident happens, okay, it might knock you down a step. It might knock you back a step. But once you be like, okay, damn, this happened, but I'm learning from it. You know, I'm going to be better from it. I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to get through this. You take 3 steps forward. But if you decide to just stay in that victim mentality and dwell in your sorrows and your pities and the woe is me, the world will pass you by. Progress will never find you again. You will end up building a wall around yourself. You will end up boxing yourself into a cage, right? And why does the cage bird sing? That's not what we want, nor what we need. That should not be the way that we want to live our lives nowadays, especially in this generation, this era, when society and other various factors, I'm trying to find the right way to say this without hurting anybody's feelings, but where there's outside influencing circumstances that are trying to force us, especially minorities, trying to force us to stay a victim. We have to learn how to think outside of that box. We have to learn how to think another way besides considering ourselves victims. We need to consider ourselves victors, right? victors. Only you can change that narrative, though. That's the thing. And that is something that I would love for everybody to take into consideration when you sitting there, you're talking about, woe is me, why is this happening to me? Instead of asking God, the divine spirit, whoever you choose, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, why is this happening for me? What do I need to learn? How can I better evolve? How can I overcome this? How can I be victorious in this circumstance instead of being a victim? That's what you need to ask yourself. And I guarantee you, slowly but surely, you will start learning. The more you take yourself accountable for things, the more you look at things from an outside perspective, the more you step outside of a situation and look at things as a whole, not just as what has happened to you or what is being done to you, it's the less that victim mentality will be in your mind. It will shrink and it will go away. And then you will not think of yourself as a victim anymore, no matter what comes your way. You will know that you are strong. You will know that you are a survivor, a warrior, a conqueror, and you will know that you can get over it. But first, it all starts in the mind. Everything that holds us back or propels us forward, it all starts in the mind. So first you have to change from the victim mentality to the victor mentality. And that's what I'm going to challenge everybody to do, right? Go from a victim to a victor. I challenge you. It may be hard at first, but it's a progress. It's a step. It's a process. The same way that healing is a process, the same way that healing is something that is constant, that you will always have to do for the rest of your life, is the same way releasing certain negative mindsets and mentalities. That's the same way that you're going to have to constantly work on those, because there's going to be times where tests will come to you and everything will just hit you back to back. Wow, one by one. And you might actually ask God, like, why me? But let me tell you something. Every experience that you go through was already written in your book of life before you came down here. Therefore, be at ease and rest well, knowing that God never gives you more than you can handle. You were built for this, whether you realize it or not. So get the fuck up and stop being a victim. You are victorious. And if you don't believe in you, guess what? I believe in you, because I believe in myself. And I used to have that same mentality, but I know better because I know who I am. And I need for you all to know who you are and believe it and walk in it, right? Walk in it. Walk in that victor mentality, right? Anytime your doubts or those negative energies or your egos wants to tell you otherwise and wants to play the blame game, it's up to you. It's up to you to shake yourself out that shit, because you know better, or at least you should know better. You should know who you are by now. And if you don't, it's okay, because life is also about finding yourself and your true purpose. But you will never fully find your true purpose or fully find who you truly are if you have decided to just label yourself as a victim, because 9 times out of 10, that's not what you came down here to be. Just keep that in mind. With that being said, I'm going to go. I just wanted to give you that brief word and tell you, release that victim mentality. It's not for you. With that being said, I love you. Go ahead. I would love for all of you to check out my Etsy shop, Empress Oracle Shop, where there I have crystal jewelries with descriptions for their uses, not just medical uses, but also spiritual uses for grounding, to elevate your meditation, all types of things. And I also will be expanding my horizon sometime soon, but we'll talk about that later. With that being said, don't forget, check me out, Empress Oracle Shop, and be blessed and have a wonderful day. I love you.